a temple drenched in blood. But it wasn't all sacrifice. Aztecs' dirtiest secret revealed. In the shadowed stone corridors of Tenochtitlan, beneath the blazing midday sun, a story unfolded that would never appear in the lavish chronicles of the empire. Some accounts whisper of priests guiding trembling novices into secret chambers where rituals defied the eye and the heart. Among them was Sitlalmina, a 17-year-old acolyte whose fate would intertwine with the hidden desires of the temple. According to rumor, what happened inside those sacred halls was a darkness the empire dared not record. If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths, consider hitting that like button and comment below to let me know where you're listening from. In the silent depths of what would become the bustling heart of Mesoamerica, the city of Tenochtitlan rose atop a network of lakes and causeways, its stone foundations gleaming beneath the relentless sun. By the early 15th century, this city had transformed from a modest settlement into the pulsing center of the Aztec Empire, commanding alliances, tribute, and devotion from surrounding territories. Temples dominated the skyline, not merely as places of worship, but as monuments of power, both divine and political. The great temple, Templo Mayor, stood as a towering testament to the empire's devotion to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, gods of war and rain. Yet these sacred halls were more than ritual spaces. They were instruments of control, where the threads of religion, politics, and personal ambition intertwined. It was here, in these golden corridors and shadowed chambers, that priests wielded influence beyond the reach of kings, guiding rituals that shaped the lives of nobles and commoners alike. Temples were arenas of spectacle for the public eye, yet hidden beneath the grandeur lay corridors and rooms where secrets thrived, whispered only among those chosen to serve the gods. Accounts from Bernardino de Sahagun's Florentine Codex and Diego Duran's Chronicles provide glimpses into these spaces, temples as both sacred sanctuaries and instruments of social and spiritual control. According to some stories, it was in these hidden corners that the line between devotion and forbidden acts blurred, setting the stage for the darker mysteries the Aztec temples would conceal. In the golden corridors of Tenochtitlan's temples, public pageantry and hidden transgression coexisted, each feeding the other in a delicate, almost imperceptible balance. By day, the temples erupted with color, music, and sacrifice, priests performing carefully choreographed rituals before thousands of citizens. Feathered headdresses shimmered in the sunlight, incense thickened the air, and drums echoed like the heartbeat of the empire itself. These public ceremonies reinforced the Aztecs' devotion, the omnipotence of their gods, and the authority of the priesthood. Yet beyond the spectacle, whispers tell of chambers sealed from the eyes of the masses, rooms where the rules of society and even the gods were bent to secret rites. According to rumor, these hidden spaces were stages for forbidden practices, places where novices were initiated into mysteries never meant for the ordinary citizen. Some accounts claim that these rituals blurred the line between reverence and control, with priests exercising power over both body and soul. Codices and chronicles, including the Florentine Codex, describe the strict hierarchies within the temple. Young acolytes, apprentices, and high-ranking priests, each bound to perform roles that dictated not only their spiritual duties, but their very fates. Ceremonial spaces were carefully designed to impress the public, yet these same designs concealed narrow passageways, hidden chambers, and stairways to shadowed sanctuaries, allowing the priesthood to operate in secrecy while maintaining the illusion of pious spectacle. In these temples, devotion and secrecy were inseparable, every public act a performance, every hidden act a test of loyalty and obedience. Some say it was here, in the silence behind the drums and the incense, that the true nature of Aztec power was revealed, a power both revered and feared. Somewhere in the shadowed chambers of the Templo Mayor, the line between devotion and desire grew dangerously thin. While the public witnessed the grandeur of sacrifices and ceremonial dances, priests were said to lead their youngest acolytes into secret rites, rituals that tested obedience. faith, and sometimes their very bodies. According to whispered accounts, certain ceremonies were symbolic reenactments of fertility myths. Yet others blurred the boundary entirely, transforming myth into acts both forbidden and intimate. Among those drawn into these hidden worlds was Citlalmina, a 17-year-old novice whose story survives only in fragments and rumor. She had come to the temple seeking spiritual purpose, yet found herself pressured into ceremonies that left her trembling with fear and awe, her innocence interwoven with the temple's darker desires. Some chronicles claim she witnessed acts meant to honor the gods, yet carried undertones of control and power far beyond simple devotion. Sources like Bernardino de Sahagun's Florentine Codex and missionary reports describe the existence of sexualized rites among temple initiates. Though these accounts must be approached with caution, they were often written by outsiders eager to depict the Aztecs as morally corrupt. Even so, the repeated references to private, ritualized encounters in hidden chambers suggest that the spectacle visible to the public was only a fraction of what unfolded behind closed doors. It was within these dim corridors and behind the veils of incense smoke that Citlalmina and countless other acolytes faced a world both sacred and forbidden, a world where obedience was entwined with secrecy, and where the true power of the priesthood was measured in the capacity to command not just actions, but souls. Even as the drums of the Templo Mayor resonated across Tenochtitlan, marking the rhythm of public ceremonies, another, darker rhythm pulsed in secret chambers and atop shadowed terraces. Public sacrifices, though horrifying by modern standards, were carefully orchestrated spectacles designed to inspire awe and devotion among the populace. The populace saw the offering of hearts, the ritual dances, the incense rising to the sky, but what occurred behind closed doors was far more extreme. According to rumor, Chimalpopoca, a high-ranking priest of great influence, conducted nocturnal rites that were hidden from the public eye. Under the cover of night, atop the sacred terraces of the temple, he oversaw ceremonies intended to invoke the gods in ways deemed too dangerous or sacred for daylight. Some accounts claim these rituals involved offerings and acts so secretive that even the emperor himself would not have been. Present whispers speak of shadowed corridors filled with the scent of incense and blood, where acolytes trembled as priests performed rites blending devotion, intimidation, and the assertion of control. These acts were meant to reinforce loyalty, test courage, and cement the priesthood's authority, a terrifying interplay of religion and power that the masses could never glimpse. Even today, scholars piecing together evidence from codices and missionary accounts can only hint at what truly occurred in these hidden rites. Whether legend or truth, the stories of Chimalpopoca and his secret ceremonies reveal a side of Aztec spirituality that was far darker than the public eye ever witnessed, where devotion, fear, and secrecy intertwined in ways that shaped the inner workings of the empire. Within the silent chambers and shadowed terraces of Tenochtitlan's temples, the human mind became both instrument and victim of the rituals conducted by the priesthood. Acolytes like Citlalmina were often torn between reverence and terror, indoctrinated from their earliest days into a system where obedience was demanded not only to the gods, but to the secretive hierarchy of priests. Every whispered command, every ceremonial gesture, carried weight, not just in spiritual terms, but in life and death. Some accounts, drawn from Sahagun and Duran, speak of visions induced by ritual fasting, hallucinogenic substances, or the sheer psychological pressure of secrecy. Acolytes reported seeing gods in human form, hearing voices in the night, or feeling the tangible presence of unseen forces. Yet these experiences were double-edged, spiritual enlightenment intertwined with fear and awe with guilt. Many were left with trauma that haunted them long after initiation, struggling to reconcile their human instincts with the demands of the sacred and the forbidden. Some whispered of internal conflict so intense that it shaped their very identity. An acolyte could emerge spiritually elevated in the eyes of the priesthood, yet emotionally scarred by the weight of acts they were compelled to witness or perform. In these corridors of devotion and darkness, the mind itself became a battlefield, where faith was forged through fear, secrecy, and the constant, almost imperceptible pressure to conform. Storytellers claim that the psychological impact of these hidden rites was as potent as the physical rituals themselves, shaping generations of Aztec priests and novices in ways history seldom records. Beneath the towering spires of Tenochtitlan's temples lay a maze of hidden passages and secret chambers, spaces the general populace could never imagine. The codices and chronicles describe stairways that led downward into shadowed corridors, rooms concealed behind false walls, and subterranean chambers where only the most trusted acolytes and priests were allowed to tread. Early Spanish explorers, noting these architectural wonders, remarked on the sense of mystery and foreboding that seemed to permeate the very stones. It was in these forbidden chambers that the most secretive rituals took place. Initiates like Chitlalmina were led through narrow, dimly lit corridors, the flickering glow of torches casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. Some rooms were used for rites of initiation, testing the acolytes' obedience and courage, while others reportedly served as spaces for punishment or private ceremonies too dangerous or sacred for daylight. Accounts claim that the architecture itself was designed to inspire awe and fear, to control the movement and perception of those inside. The hidden spaces were as much a tool of psychological power as they were functional. They allowed the priesthood to manipulate, conceal, and dominate. Some whispered that a single misstep, a single act of disobedience within these walls, could result in ostracism, severe punishment, or spiritual condemnation, ensuring that secrecy was absolute. These chambers, invisible to the citizens below, were where the true nature of Aztec ritual and power revealed itself, spaces where fear and devotion intertwined so completely that the acolytes' physical journey through the temple mirrored their emotional and spiritual passage into the mysteries of the empire. When Spanish missionaries first arrived in Tenochtitlan, they were confronted with ceremonies and practices that struck them as incomprehensible, even shocking. In their reports, they described priests leading novices into secret chambers, rituals involving intimate acts and extreme devotion, and the hidden, shadowed life of the temples. Some chroniclers went so far as to label these practices as immoral or sacrilegious, interpreting what they saw through the lens of their own beliefs and cultural expectations. Yet historians caution that these accounts were often colored by fear, prejudice, and political agenda. Missionaries sought to depict the Aztecs as morally corrupt, a narrative that justified conquest and conversion. Still, the repeated references to secret rites, hidden chambers, and rituals beyond public knowledge suggest there was truth beneath the exaggeration, a world carefully shielded from ordinary eyes. Stories of acolytes like Chitlalmina, who trembled behind closed doors while priests performed rites of power, highlight the human side of these rumors. Some tales may have been inflated, yet they reveal a consistent pattern of secrecy, fear, and obedience, hinting at the temple's dual life, the grandeur seen by the masses, and the hidden world only whispered about by insiders. In the tension between fact and legend, the Aztec temples emerge not merely as religious centers, but as enigmatic spaces where power, secrecy, and human experience intertwined. A reality that both fascinated and horrified those who dared to write it down. Centuries after the fall of Tenochtitlan, archaeologists have begun to peer into the silent depths of the Aztec temples, uncovering traces of the rituals that once unfolded in secret. Excavations of the Templo Mayor have revealed hidden chambers, carefully arranged ceremonial artifacts, and skeletal remains that hint at practices both sacred and terrifying. Some of these finds align with the chronicles and rumors, suggesting that certain rites, long thought exaggerated, may indeed have been practiced in shadowed corners of the temple. Yet modern interpretation comes with its own limitations. Soil tests, bone analysis, and artifact placement can provide clues, but the meaning and context of these discoveries often remain elusive. Did a particular chamber serve as a space for initiation, punishment, or private worship? Were the sacrificial remains part of public ceremonies or hidden nocturnal rites? Archaeologists can only speculate, guided by fragments of evidence and historical texts, leaving much of the temple's hidden life shrouded in mystery. For acolytes like Kitlalmina, whose stories survive only in whispers and chronicles, these archaeological finds offer a tantalizing glimpse into their world, validating some aspects of their secretive lives while leaving the deepest fears and experiences unrecorded. The stones and artifacts stand as silent witnesses to rituals where devotion, fear, and secrecy entwined, reminding us that history is often a shadowed corridor, where only fragments illuminate the full story. The secretive rites of the Aztec temples were far more than acts of devotion. They were instruments of power, control, and social hierarchy. Priests who commanded hidden knowledge could influence nobles, shape decisions, and enforce obedience among acolytes and citizens alike. The ability to orchestrate ceremonies unseen by the public granted the temple elite a form of authority that rivaled even the emperor, cementing their role as both spiritual guides and political actors. These hidden rituals also served as tools of social control. Fear, secrecy, and selective revelation ensured that only those deemed worthy could navigate the inner corridors of power. Acolytes and priests were bound by oath and fear, their loyalty secured through experiences that combined spiritual awe with psychological pressure. In this way, the temple functioned as both a religious and political machine, maintaining order and hierarchy across the empire when viewed in a broader context. The Aztec practice of secret rites was not unique. Ancient civilizations across the globe, such as the mystery cults of Greece or the hidden rites of Egypt's priesthoods, used secrecy to enforce devotion, control knowledge, and maintain societal structure. Yet in Tenochtitlan, the stakes were uniquely human and deeply intimate. The hidden acts affected not only faith, but the body, mind, and destiny of the individual, creating a complex web of power invisible to the casual observer. Through these secretive practices, the Aztec temples reveal a civilization in which religion, politics, and human psychology were inseparably intertwined. A society where hidden corridors held as much authority as the golden halls visible to the masses. The Aztec temples of Tenochtitlan stand in history as monuments to devotion, power, and mystery, their golden spires once visible across the lakes, yet their true essence hidden in shadowed chambers and secret corridors. Throughout their walls, public spectacle intertwined with private transgression, and the lives of acolytes like Kitlalmina were shaped as much by fear and secrecy as by faith and ritual. This duality between what the world saw and what only a few witnessed reveals the human fascination with the forbidden, the magnetic pull of what lies beyond ordinary understanding. The hidden rites were not merely acts of piety, they were tools of authority, psychological influence, and social control, shaping the hearts and minds of those within the temple's inner circle. Uncovering these stories reminds us that history is never complete when told only through official records or surface-level accounts. Much of the past survives in whispers, rumors, and the silent spaces of ancient architecture. By exploring these hidden layers, we come closer to understanding the full complexity of human belief, devotion, and ambition. Whether fact or legend, storytellers claim that the silent corridors of Tenochtitlan still whisper of forbidden acts, unseen by those outside the temple walls, a haunting echo of devotion, secrecy, and the human experience that once unfolded within the empire's sacred heart.